Hey everybody, welcome back to the basement. I know it's been a minute since I've done some bass guitar related videos. I know I've been obsessed with finishing this workbench and I finally got it done and I'm really grateful for that. But man, this thing has taken on a life of its own and triggered a whole snowball of other projects around the basement here. Namely, I'm building that workbench. That workbench was built to be the centerpiece of a workshop where I intend to build bass guitars for the first time this year. So that's a pretty big deal that I want to try and actually build an instrument. I really just want to see if I can do it. I've seen so many other builders on the internet that has really inspired me. Crimson Guitars in particular has really inspired me to want to build bass guitars. It looks like something that is doable. It looks achievable, so I'm going to give it a go and see what happens with it. So I've been setting up a workshop over the last couple of weeks and it's pretty much done. I've also acquired a bunch of new tools. One of them bit my finger. Got to learn technique on how to use push blocks properly when doing an edge face on a jointer. I had the push block handle angled the wrong way and well, let's just say I lost the tip of the ring finger on my fretting hand, my left hand. So it's going to be at least another month before I'm back into playing condition, which is really a bummer, especially being shelter in place and I can't play bass at all, and it's driving me nuts. But fortunately, I have several other projects that I've been working on that's going to help fill the void. Also, I've got some really bad carpal tunnel in this wrist from all the work that I've been doing too. So anyway, in this episode, I'm going to be installing a vise on the bench, and then I'm going to take you through the rest of the journey of me setting up the workshop. And hopefully by the end of that, I'll be all healed up and I'll be able to start doing some more playing videos and gear demos. Because I've got some new gear that I want to share with you guys, but I want to give it a proper demo now that I've had it for a couple of months. But anyway, let's get on with installing the vise on the bench. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to mock up where I want to install on the bench this vise. I'm going to clamp it in place just using some quick squeeze clamps. Once I get that done, I will take a pencil and start tracing out where it's going to go and locate the screw holes at least on part of it. So there's the underside where I've marked for the screw holes. Now I'm going to pre-drill them. You see the piece of masking tape on the drill bit. That's basically setting a depth stop so I know how deep to drill the hole. I don't want to drill all the way through the bench, obviously. That would look bad. But I do want to be able to seat these lag screws as deep as they'll go. Now I'm squaring up the blade on the table saw and I'm going to rip some stock. Again, I'm using pallet wood. These are some small chunks of, looks like either sycamore or maple. It's a soft wood that I'm using for the jaws. Since I don't have a jointer, I'm just ripping one face very, very close to the edge. And I'm doing 3 of these because I want to have a spare in case I mess up. So now I'm squaring up the edges and cutting them to length. Alright, I've got all the edges squared up. Now I'm going to rip them to their final width. Alright, so now I've got 3 jaw blanks. So now I'm going to pick the 2 that I like the best, see which ones want to meet each other the best, and deliberate, and deliberate, and deliberate. Alright, so I think I've got 2 that I like, so now I'm going to use a hand plane and plane the faces as smooth and as flat as I possibly can, and sand them as well. I think I'm just using 120 grit paper. One thing I like about this bench vise is this got a little pop-up dog, and you can see I'm just using that dog clamped between
the bench and the bench dog, and it's holding it in place while I plane it. So with only the 2 lag screws in place from the underneath, I'm able to actually still use the bench vise to hold the workpiece while I work on making the jaws. Now, you don't have to put wood jaws on this vise. I'm choosing to because I know most of the pieces that I'm going to be using to clamp in this vise are going to be wood, and I want to protect them. I don't want metal on wood. I'd rather it be wood on wood so it doesn't damage what it is that I'm working on. So now I'm just pre-drilling for the front jaws. Again, I'm using my masking tape depth stop. Now it's time to zip those screws in. This is the easiest jaw to install, obviously.
Okay, that's the easy jaw. Now for the hard one. For this, I'm going to have to take the vise off, and I got to mark out the hole locations here. So I'm going to drive lag screws all the way through and into the bench. I want to countersink these lag screws in quite a bit with a paddle bit, and then plug the hole with a drumstick dowel. That's the plan, man.
All right, so I'm tracing out the spots on the jaw to pre-drill those holes while my daughter is hanging out with me, checking out what I'm doing. She's out of the 3 kids, she's been the one that seems to be the most interested in what I'm doing on the channel, so it's pretty cool. So you saw me test fitting the drumstick dowels to plug the holes, and you'll see how short-sighted that was in just a moment. Again, I'm learning this stuff as I go. I've never done this. There's not really a ton of YouTube videos on how to do this particular vise and make custom wooden jaws for it.
Well, crap. I thought my countersink was big enough for this drill bit, for this socket, but it's not.
Alright, so now I get to take those lag screws all the way out, widen that hole a little bit so that I can fit my socket in there and get everything tight. I'm just doing one at a time because I want to hold the vise in place. Alright, now that I've got everything snugged up, I noticed that, well, I won't be able to use this drumstick dowel anymore because the hole is too wide for it. But, I mean, the heads of those lag screws are recessed deeply enough that they're never going to come in contact with my workpieces. So for right now, being I don't have any thicker dowel stock that I can turn down to fit there, I'm just going to leave it as is for right now. I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's at risk of damaging anything. So now I'm leveling off the tops of the jaws level with the workbench. Kind of wrestled with that for a minute, whether I wanted it to sit flush or whether I wanted it to be higher. and I decided I'd rather just have it flush with the bench. Now I'm just cleaning up the edges with some sandpaper, putting a little 45-degree chamfer on the edges with the planes. Now it's time for the best part of any project, and that is putting on the finish. Me personally, I'm really starting to enjoy using the Danish oil. It doesn't really color the wood too much. It just makes it deeper and more and richer, and makes that grain really show. So I'm enjoying it so far. We'll see if it continues to be as durable as I want it to be. Right now the jaws are still squeaky because those guide rods are sitting very, very tight up against the bench. So I was able to get that squeak out pretty easily by applying some paste wax to them after the fact. So that annoying squeak is gone. There you have it. All right, buddy, thank you so much for watching this episode. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making that workshop look presentable on camera, get rid of those crappy half-done walls, and I think you'll like what I did with them. So anyway, tune into the next couple episodes as you see the workshop transform and actually become a quasi-legit workshop. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.